Hey folks, welcome back to my channel. This is MahfuzVanGogh, your dredge guy, and today I'm talking from a co-working space because I was here starting the edition process of my new video, but I noticed that something was off with the intro and the ending. So I'm just recording again. Maybe the sound is a little bit weird because I'm recording from my webcam here, but I think it will be okay, and I'm doing it quickly just to emphasize what is different between this version that we are playing today and the previous ones that we played here on the channel. So today I'm playing mostly the same configuration here. Now I am really satisfied with the mana base, with our 4 Cephalic Coliseums and 4 copies of Mana Confluence, 1 Hedge Maze instead of Suffering Falls, because I noticed that we almost every time that we have the need of having a Surveil land on turn 1, is because we have a Life from the Loam or say its name to grab other lands. Usually when we have Cathartic Reunion, this doesn't matter too much if we kept the hand with a Cathartic Reunion instead of a Life from the Loam. I think this will just work better, but let's test this new configuration of with this new mana base. And about our sideboard, we have 4 copies of Flare of Denial, and this is because we lost one important match in our last league, that if we had at least a single counterspell, that match would be so different. So I'm just testing here. I know that some Dredge players in Modern want to test this card as well, so we will do this test today. Hopefully it will shine in a good way in our deck. And we have 4 bounce spells, and now instead of ley lines, since they are almost never useful, I'm trying just the full play set of Lightning Axe, because Lightning Axe proved itself. It is an amazing card. And also 1 extra copy of Ox and Conflagrate, especially against Blood Moon decks. That's pretty much it. I hope you enjoyed this new video. Click the like button, subscribe, and leave a comment below if you want to see more Dredge decks in action, especially in Modern, because this is the Tier 1 series in Modern. We are trying to build the best 4-color Dredge in Modern. 4-color Dredge deck in Modern. So let's do it right now. Renting cards is the best way to play online, and you can start your journey, like me, on Mana Traders. Just use this coupon code that you can see here on this page to have an exclusive discount on your first 2 months. Now let's go back to the games. Round 1, we are paired against Underground 1. Okay, I will keep this. We have great treasures, a great turn 2, a great turn 3. My opponent starts with a basic swamp and oh, Raven's Crime. So we have a turn 0. Thank you, opponent. My opponent probably is on 8 rack or something like that. So a discard strategy. We will dredge 5 on our turn 1, and I will play Steam Vents, tapped. And we already have 1 copy of Sate's Name there. My opponent is contemplating this scenario. They play Castle Locktwain and Range Mind. Okay, my opponent wants me to discard more cards. I'm good. I'm good with this plan. I can even discard Bloodghast now. So Bloodghast will enter the battlefield immediately. We have 2 of them. Maybe my Bloodghast will attack with haste on turn 2, maybe. Okay. Oh, I should... no, maybe it's just better. Let's cast a Cathartic Reunion, of course. So we can do both things. Oh, Dredge. Okay. Gripping Shield is good. We Dredge again. And now we Dredge again. It's turn 2, and we have only 29 cards in our deck. But since I decided to cast Cathartic Reunions, no Prize Amalgams yet. But I think we are still good. My opponent plays Basic Swamp. And Go Blank. Oh, okay. That's good, because now we don't have Prize Amalgams or Narcomoeba. But let's keep Life from the Loam, right? If you top deck a land, we can do something. Ox of Agonas is not good. Well, let's attack our opponent, dealing 4 damage. Yeah, Go Blank was great, because our deck did great things, but unfortunately no Narcomoebas there. Now, okay, my opponent wants to destroy my creatures. Okay, Life from the Loam is not good. This is the good thing about Bloodghasts compared to Silver Smote Ghouls. They always come back. My thoughts is, okay, my opponent can choose whatever they want. The right call here is Ox, because it's the only card that doesn't have Dredge. And now my opponent will go down to 11, and that's good. 1 more damage, 1 more fetch land, for example, and our Bloodghasts will have haste. Okay, my opponent did the right choice. Okay, yeah, my opponent is probably new to this matchup. Yeah, they want to deal damage, but they definitely did the wrong choice here. So let's Dredge 5. Let's teach my opponent how Dredge works. So now we have an Narcomoeba. I was just focused here on my opponent's misplay.
that I forgot to crack this in response to Narcomoeba. I'm sorry, guys. So we dredge again. Okay, it doesn't matter because now we have more Narcomoebas. We can discard our best dredgers. We have unfortunately a Creeping Chill in our hand, but we are still fine to win this game. My opponent had many discard spells and the wreck, and that's it. Now we can win the game with our Flying Narcos and Prize Amalgams. One Prize Amalgam, actually. My opponent plays Urza's Saga. It's good, but at this point, let's see if we still have chills or lands here to... Which one is better? Okay, my opponent has something else. Oh, they will destroy our creatures again. But no cards in my opponent's hand now. The wreck will do no damage. And now we'll dredge, because we still have Creeping Chill. My opponent is down to 5. And now we attack. Down to 2. Our opponent draws. Urza's Saga goes up. Yeah, I'm counting my lands here, because there is a possibility that I just draw here to win the game with Bloodghast. My opponent just passed the turn here. And now let's draw. Life from the Loam is not a land. But we still attack, right? Because my opponent doesn't have 3 artifacts. So my opponent should jump block here. Now let's see if my opponent has some other artifact that costs 1 besides the wreck. Let's do some math here, analyzing lands. Yeah, just another the wreck, but that's no good. We have 5 cards in our hand. Now the wreck triggers twice, 2 the wrecks. We will draw land, yeah. We have this, guys. We could even cast Ox of Agonas, but we don't need it. We don't need to do that. Our Bloodghast will come back with haste. My opponent has a single card in their hand, even if this is a removal spell like Fatal Push. We have 2 other creatures, so we win. Go blank, huh? How many go blanks my opponent has in their hand, in their deck? I'm not sure. It's my first time playing against 8-Rack in Modern. So maybe Flare of Denial, since this is one of our cards being tested in this 4-color version. But I think I will not include anything. I think against the Rack strategy, my opponent will force me to discard at some point, and even if they have ways to remove our graveyard, at some point they will force us to discard again, unless they have another game plan after sideboarding. Let's see. This is unfortunately a mulligan, so let's mulligan. Do I keep this, waiting for my opponent to force me to discard some cards? I feel like having lands and Life from the Loam here will go long way. Maybe this is just a good keep. Yeah, my opponent has Thoughtseize. Because now my opponent will choose Bloodghast, of course, and then any other discard spell will put Life from the Loam in our graveyard. If my opponent... Oh, my opponent decided to force me to discard Life from the Loam. Why? Okay, let's dredge. Creeping Chill, draining 3 life. I'm confused. Let's play the Maze. Conflagrate in our graveyard. And we have mana to cast this Conflagrate in a couple of turns. My opponent plays the Castle and the Wreck, okay? And that's it? Alright. Maybe my opponent has a turn 3 graveyard hate spell. Prize Amalgam. So let's cast Loam, right? Let's grab more lands and put Loam. Same events untapped. You put Loam back into our graveyard. And pass a turn. So this way the Wreck will never get us. We will always have more than 3 cards, 3 or more cards in our hand. My opponent plays Swamp. Oh, Necromantia. Necromantia. So what will my opponent name here? Creeping Chill. That's interesting. In a Bloodghast shell, I'm not sure if Creeping Chill is the best name here. Because Creeping Chill would be really good if we had Silver Smote Ghouls. But since our free creature is Bloodghast, maybe my opponent should name Prize Amalgams or even Bloodghasts. Not sure. Maybe this is good because this drains life. But we already did it once. So we have only 3 chills in our deck. My opponent is exiling our chills and seeing what else we have. Maybe they have a second Necromantia. So now the Wreck does nothing. And we'll dredge 3. Okay, we have a Prize Amalgam and a Stinkweed Imp there. Let's play a land. And I think I'll just cast a Prize Amalgam from my hand. Let's tap the right color of mana. Okay, Prize Amalgam is in play. This is a slow game, but we are getting there. If my opponent has Go Blank, we can rebuild our graveyard with Life from the Loam and Misty Rainforest. Okay, my opponent plays Urza's Saga. Maybe this is... Oh, Ensnaring Bridge. Okay, now I understand why my opponent chose Creeping Chill. Because now we only can win with our single Conflagrate. Attacking with Narcomoebas and Stinkweed Imp. Maybe we can get that. Our Prized Amalgam, unfortunately, will not attack. Yeah, it will come back, but it will not attack. We don't have Dredges anymore, but we can even cast a Bloodghast from our hand. I'm not sure which one is better here. Maybe we can grab only Cephalic Coliseum. We don't need any more lands here. We could grab Mana Confluence to cast Bloodghast in a couple of turns. But let's crack a Cephalic Coliseum to try to hit more cards. Because maybe my opponent has cards that they cannot cast for some reason, and we can attack with everyone in a single track. So we have Bloodghast and 2 copies of Sage's Name. Sage's Name is not good against Ensnaring Breach, but now we have 2 Bloodghasts coming next turn. Without haste, but they're creatures. Because maybe my opponent feels tempted to just create a construct with Urza Saga, keeping 2 cards in their hand, and then Bloodghast enters the battlefield, doing some damage. I don't know. My opponent seems to be inexperienced in this specific matchup. Yeah, they are forcing me to discard a card. Let's discard Thug again, I guess. They play a land, okay. Oh, Liliana of the Veil. So they will stay Hellbent. And now we cannot attack anymore. We don't have any removal spell for an Ensnaring Bridge. I didn't sideboard. Now it's our turn. Let's concede here, guys. We will not win this game. My opponent did the right thing, going to 0 cards as soon as possible. Maybe I could include a second copy of Conflagrate. So if we deal some damage and my opponent casts Ensnaring Bridge, we could just cast 2 Conflagrates in a row. But since we are on the play, I think this will be different. I think we will have more chances just keeping stronger hands. Or maybe Conflagrate is good. Or even Fair of Denial. I trust our deck to win being on the play. My opponent's Ensnaring Bridge on turn 3 will not hold until turn 5 probably. Will not hold our creatures until maybe turn 5. Okay, we have Cathartic Union, Sage's Name. Let's skip this. No dredges yet, but maybe Sage's Name finds us what we need and we can win until turn 4. Hopefully we'll find some threats before my opponent hits Necromantia or Ensnaring Bridge. This is a hand, is a weird hand because this doesn't have dredges. So if my opponent casts Raven's Crime on turn 1, this will actually not be good. Okay, we can discard Necromantia, of course, but I would prefer to not see discard spell on turn 1. My opponent had a mulligan to 6. And now what? They draw Basic Swamp and Thoughtseize. Okay. My opponent can choose one of our 3 enablers and we're still fine. We have 2 other enablers. Okay, they chose one of our Cathartic Reunions. Let's cast Sage's Name here. Altanak. Okay, we have Cephalic Coliseum for next turn. And we have Loam there now. Let's see what Loam will reveal. And then we'll decide what to do on turn 3. My opponent plays another Swamp. Raven's Crime, okay. Let's discard our Narcomoeba. Maybe my opponent has the Wreck. Nope, okay. We'll Loam. Oh, another copy of Sage's Name there. And we have 7 cards in our graveyard. We can do whatever we want. I think Cathartic Reunion is better because we don't need to sacrifice a land. And then next turn we have Cephalic Coliseum or even Ox of Agonas. We already have 2 red mana. So let's dredge 5. Dredge 5. Creeping Chills maybe. Narcomoeba is good. Even dredge 5 again. 2 Narcomoebas are great. We have Ox and Conflagrate and Cephalic Coliseum for next turn. My opponent cannot deal with every single element of our deck. And since I play Hage Maze now, Bloodghast will come back. Okay, my opponent still has 4 cards in their hand. If they cast in Ensnaring Bridge, they will still have 3 cards in their hand, so we can attack dealing for damage next turn. And we have Life from the Loam and Conflagrate. Ensnaring Bridge, okay. Let's see if we can be fast enough to win, even against turn 3 Ensnaring Bridge. We can even cast Golgari Thug here, right? Or maybe Sync with Imp. We will crack Cephalic Coliseum because we still have Chills to be... Okay, actually the best thing is always cast Ox of Agonas, I'm sorry. I was too focused on Cephalic Coliseum. We cannot cast Conflagrate this turn if we do that, but Ox is just better. Ox will not attack, but we can dredge 15 this turn because of Ox. And now Creeping Chill. My opponent doesn't have Necromantia, okay. Or Surgical Extraction or something. We have Sage's Name there, we can say Altanak's name. Altanak will not attack, so I don't think this is useful. Now we will crack Cephalic Coliseum. Maybe we hit more Chills. Dredge 4, okay, chill. Dredge 4 again, and let's draw. Okay, we draw Narcomoeba, unfortunately. And now we have only 2 cards in our graveyard. We did what we could. You know what? I know it will not win the game because my opponent has Ensnaring Bridge, but let's say its name. So it will trigger all of our amalgams. And maybe my opponent cannot go to 2 cards next turn. And now we attack. My opponent is down to 5 life. And they need to go to 2 cards this turn. So we can only attack with 4 power. If they cannot go down to 2 cards, we win the game. Okay, they have a land. It's a good start. It seems easy to go down to 2 cards, but sometimes your opponent only have land in their hand. Okay, they are tapping mana. Liliana of the Veil. This is still fine. Each player discards a card. That's okay. We discard the Golgari Thug. We don't need to attack Liliana here. Unfortunately, we draw our other Creeping Chill. We have 1 card in our deck. Let's attack our opponent. And now I'll kill them with a lethal Conflagrate. So Conflagrate, guys, not only good against creature decks, but also to push this less damage. This is something that I was feeling we needed when playing with Sultai builds, and now we have it with this 4-color build. Let's go to our next match. If you're enjoying my content and want to support me as a content creator, the best way of doing it is on Patreon. Being there, you can read my weekly articles and also my sideboard guides to play this and other dredge decks in other formats. I want to say thank you to all my patrons that you can see here on this page. Now, back to the games. Here we are on the draw. This is a mulligan. We have Altanak and choose its name, but it's a mulligan. Now it's a kip. Let's put Narcomoeba back to our deck. We are against Chechu or Sketsu 03. And we have only Tanchus, but this is really good. We have 2 Dredgers and Cephalic Coliseum and Cathartic Reunion. Altanak is not that good in our hand, but maybe we can just use Altanak's ability at some point, or just discard Altanak. My opponent is thinking for a long time and then played Misty Rainforest. Now we draw another Dredger, okay? Let's play Flooded Strand and pass the turn. My opponent cracks Misty. For a Watery Grave, untapped. So they have Surveil spell? Oh, Thought Scour, okay. And they have Spell Snare and another Thought Scour. So this is probably blue-black control, maybe with a reanimation flavor. My opponent plays Island, representing Orcish Bowmasters and Counterspell. So no Cathartic Reunion will be good if my opponent, if we don't have Dredgers, but since we have Dredgers, we can cast Cathartic Reunion here. There is always a possibility that we choose a Maze here to be slower, since my opponent is representing Counterspell. Okay, we found a Dredger, great. Because if my opponent counters my life from the Loam, that's great, right? We don't need to be afraid of it. Now we'll Dredge 4. And I will place Cephalic Coliseum, but Gas comes back. And I'm doing this, guys, because Cathartic Reunion is a premium spell, and I don't want to spend Cathartic Reunion if we don't need to. Now I will cast Life from the Loam here. Let's see if my opponent lets this Loam resolve. They are thinking. Force of Negation. Okay, I was right. My opponent had a counter spell, and this Orcish Bowmasters is okay. And after some matches played against this deck in the last weeks, in my experience, we don't need to rush things, especially on game 1. We have almost 100% of chances to win this game if we don't just try to be faster. Okay, drawing Amana Confluence is great. Now we have even more options. But Gas will come back. My opponent is still representing Counterspell there. But now, after this Cathartic Reunion, even if my opponent counters it, we will have 3 mana next turn. We can crack Cephalic Coliseum, or we can find another Life from the Loam to cast Ox of Agonas. We have so okay, it is resolving. I wasn't expecting that. So Dredge 4, Ripping Chill, we draw another Prize Amalgam. Okay. So Orcish Bowmasters hits Bloodghast because we needed to draw a card. But I think we are still great here. My opponent cannot target Altanak ability if I want to just grab another land from my graveyard. Or we can cast Otherworldly Gaze. We have so many options here. Let's cast Gaze. Okay, we have another Coliseum there, and a Dredger, and a Chill. What does my opponent has in their hand? We'll draw Cephalic Coliseum. And now with Bloodghast trigger on the stack, we'll crack this. Since we have another Prize Amalgam in our hand, we need to change Dredgers now. Dredge 5. Oh, Dredge 4. And Dredge 5. Yeah. So no new army token for my opponent. Let's discard Prize Amalgam into Dredgers. And this Narcomoeba is also good. It kills the Bowmasters. Narcomoeba enters, triggering everyone. Everyone is invited to Dredge Party. And my opponent concedes. Yeah. We have some sort of inevitability against this deck. My opponent cannot control everything. And we win the game at some point. They need a combination of counter spells and graveyard hate spells. So far against this deck, I think I won 100% of my matches. I'm not sure. But I think I won every single match. And Altanak is actually really good against this deck. So it's our secret weapon. Let's just submit back. I don't think we need even Wonder. I think our sideboard plan is good against other decks. But against this deck, we are pre-boarded. We have what we need. Okay. This is a keep. It's not the greatest hand because we don't have Cathartic Reunion, of course. But the Otherworldly Gaze in Saint's name. Oh, my opponent has Spellbomb. As I was saying, this hand is super. Oh, and now we have Cathartic Reunion. This is a good hand against a Graveyard Hate because it has many ways to rebuild your graveyard after your opponent does something. Let's see if they have a good turn 2, because maybe I will just grab a Hage Maze here. I will not even cast Otherworldly Gaze if I don't need to. Yeah, my opponent is representing Bone Masters and Counterspell again. Counterspells in plural. We are not sure which one. So let's grab Hedge Maze here. And let's see what we have on top of our deck. Just a Mana Confluence. I will keep that. We draw Mana Confluence. And now we could cast, say, its name here. Being slow. If my opponent counters that, that's fine. They have Force of Negation, that's fine. Just a counterspell, okay? So my opponent doesn't want to let us resolve, even say its name, which is not the greatest card. So maybe they have many counterspells in their hand and they want to control the game. I will draw a card here. Oh, Creeping Chill is awful. Maybe we can cast Creeping Chill from our hand. We have 2 of them. So I will cast Tinkwidimp from my hand. Tinkwidimp is a great blocker against what my opponent is doing. Okay, my opponent cracks Polluted Delta. For a tapped land, they liked what they saw. Another Surveil land. They kept on top. Harbinger of the Seas. Okay, so we have Otherworldly Gaze here. But it will not be easy. We cannot cast anything else besides Gaze. So let's cast it. Or maybe, yeah, let's draw again. Maybe I will just draw cards until I have the opportunity to discard 2 hand size. We're not favored to win this matchup, but my opponent is not doing much. So we still have a chance. Let's see if they want to attack here. Because they don't have black mana, right? Okay, we can even cast Nakomibo from our hand. My opponent don't have black mana yet. And if they don't have black mana, they don't have removal spells. So if we have Bloodghasts and Prized Amalgams entering the battlefield at some point, we need to do a little movement in... Oh, my opponent will crack Spell Bomb immediately. Why? They don't have black mana. They are exiling 2 cards from our graveyard. What is their intention? Just to put an extra card in their graveyard? Oh, I see. They want to cast Oculus, the Eye, and they needed 1 extra card. So they think this will help them to win the game faster than holding a Spell Bomb. I'm not sure if that's correct, but this is such a powerful card. Maybe this was the correct play, since Harbinger is already doing its job. But now we should probably... My opponent is holding Force of Negation there. Let's see. Let's see if they want to force this. Okay, no. And we have only lands. We can put everything into our graveyard. And now we cast this with Flashback. Because my opponent's feeling pretty safe. Okay, Narco and Chill. My opponent's feeling pretty safe with that Oculus there. And now we have another Illusion. And we drain 3 life. My opponent will manifest Dread. We draw a Loam. Let's pass, right? This is a weird game. It can go either way. My opponent is slightly favored now because they will have 1 extra creature each turn. And they probably have counterspells in their hand. Oh, they are attacking me? I will gladly block. My opponent's creature was a Force of Negation. Now my opponent will manifest Dread again. And we'll Dredge. Okay, we have more Dredges and another Chill there. So now we can cast our Nakomibo from our hand. We cannot attack because my opponent's creature fly, right? So let's pass. My opponent is attacking here. Let's take this hit. Oh, my opponent has another Spell Bomb. Let's concede here. With this Spell Bomb, I think it's over. And now what? Now we are on the play. And being on the play in Modern seems even more important than Legacy lately. In Legacy it is super important, but in Modern I see that sometimes being on the play in a slow matchup like this one will do all the difference. We are so favored to win on the play. I will not make any changes. Because my opponent's best answer against our mana base has a 3 mana cost. So we can do so many things until turn 3. And we have Altanak. My opponent has a Spell Bomb. Not good enough. Let's mulligan this. Okay. Not the best, but again, we have a Cathartic Reunion with a Dredger. I think this is a keep. And we have 2 lands. My opponent is still deciding about keeping or mulliganing. Okay, they kept 7 cards. Let's keep 6. Putting Creeping Chill back to our deck. We start with Flooded Strand and pass. My opponent plays Misty and also passes a turn. Great. We'll crack Flooded Strand for a Hedge Maze. Maybe we find a Dredger. Press the Amalgam. Not the worst. Now we draw a Dredger. Left from the Loam. Great. So yeah, untapped. Invents untapped. And I'll try to cast Loam first. Because if my opponent kept a hand without Spell Bomb, I think they have Spell Pierce or maybe the other one. The other cotton spell that costs... yeah. Spell Snare. Yeah. So we are saving our Cathartic Reunion for the best moment. My opponent plays Flooded Strand, fetching an island, and Psychic Frog. It's not our Psychic Frog, but I will do it anyways. Ribbit. And we Dredge 3. Now we are probably good to resolve this Cathartic Reunion. My opponent needs Force of Negation. If they do, it's life, but maybe they don't. Yeah. And now we Dredge 5. Creeping Chill is good. 2 Bloodghasts for next turn. We still need a land though. And Dredge 4 now. This Nakomibo will bring back 1 Prize Amalgam. 2 Chills are good. We have Otherworldly Gaze there to find a land if we need to. If my opponent has a Harbinger. My opponent is down to 10. Yeah, I think it's good. My question now is, do I block Psychic Frog with Narcomoeba? I think I probably block. My opponent plays Polluted Delta. Cracks it. Down to 9. This time we have dredgers in our graveyard, so Harbinger of Disease is not the best. We have things to do. Okay, my opponent chose a basic island and Harbinger, okay? And they still don't have black mana. So I think I'll block here. We have a 3-3. Or maybe I will attack my opponent to go down to 5. Is this 1 damage important to win the game or not? Our Bloodghast can have haste if I find a land. This is a $1 million decision here. This is the decision that can win the game or not. I will not block. Psychic Frog deals 1 damage and draws a card. I don't think this game will be decided on card advantage anymore. Let's cast Otherworldly Gaze on my upkeep. And let's find a land. Yeah, 2 of them. Otherworldly Gaze can be milled. We only need 1 land, right? We have 2 other Otherworldly Gazes there. So let's draw our land. Both Bloodghast enter the battlefield. With haste. I love Bloodghast in this build. I know people are attached to their goals, but I love Bloodghast with Life from the Loam. It's just a good synergy. My opponent is down to 1. They cannot fetch, but their fetch lands would be island anyways. And my opponent may lose this. They cannot cast a Toxic Deluge. They need to put 2 creatures now. Okay, they are discarding cards to Psychic Frog. Maybe they have the Oculus? So they are discarding cards to... If they have the Oculus, we need the Creeping Chill to win the game. Because Oculus can put 2 creatures on the battlefield. Yeah, it seems like that's what is going to happen. So my opponent will not attack here. Yeah, they cannot attack with Frog. Frog is on defense. We are winning. So let's cast Otherworldly Gaze here. Just to mill more cards. Maybe we have another Bloodghast. Creeping Chill is there to save the day and win the game. Right timing. Right timing. Let's do a Creeping Chill sound. And we won. Let's go to our 3rd match. Round 3. We are playing against a Giganta deck. This unfortunately is a mulligan. Okay, I like that. It's okay. Let's put Creeping Chill back. And my opponent is Fantastik. Fantastik. Oh, Leilani. Leilani play. Fantastik has a Leilani of the Guild Pact. So this is probably a Zou deck. Hopefully this is not a Living End deck. We saw a Living End deck with Leilani on our last league. Okay, another land is good. Let's play Misty Rainforest. We'll probably grab a Steam Vents and cast Otherworldly Gaze on my opponent's turn. Or maybe now. Let's guarantee now that they don't have Stubborn Denial active. So Steam Vents untapped, and we play Otherworldly Gaze. We cast Otherworldly Gaze. Okay, Dredger, Creeping Chill, and Altanak are milled, surveilled to the graveyard. Creeping Chill drains 3 life. And now what? My opponent is fetching Flooded Strand 4. Probably a Surveil land. Yeah, Lush Portico. And now they draw Arena of Glory. This land is so good. Okay, Kavo. Kavo is here. And now we'll Dredge 4. Creeping Chill is good. And since we have a Cathartic Reunion with 1 Dredger, it's kind of risky here. Because maybe we don't hit a 2nd Dredger to chain Dredgers. But we have Bloodghast to be discarded anyways. So this is our best plan. On turn 2. Dredge 4. Yeah, and Life from the Loam. Dredge 3. And Dredge 5. Great. Narcomoeba maybe? No. We'll have 2 Bloodghasts for next turn. Press Amalgam. Ox. Even Altanak is a threat. My opponent needs to decide what they want to exile with Kavu's ability. Kavu or Kavu in English? Kavu's ability. So my opponent plays Wooded Foothills. They don't even need to crack the land because of Leyline. Let's see what my opponent will choose here. So many good targets there. As I've been saying that in Modern, it feels important in Modern for me, more than in Legacy, to put many different threats at the same time. Oh, my opponent is going for Altanak. They fear the 9/9 trample. The fear. So it feels more important than ever to have a different combination of threats. So your opponent can not deal with everything at the same time. So my opponent has Flage, and we don't have targets, only ourselves. So my opponent drains 3 damage, 3 life with Flage. And now we Dredge 4. I'm sorry. We have Ox, and we have mana to cast Ox. We also have Otherworldly Gaze. So let's cast Gaze first. Okay, Creeping Chill, another Bloodghast, great. So Bloodghast will enter the battlefield, maybe with haste. Because my opponent is down to 13. We only need another Creeping Chill to give haste to our 3 Bloodghasts. And they have Bloodlust. Do you remember Bloodlust, the card? It was one of my first cards playing Magic the Gathering on 4th edition. So now let's cast Ox of Agonas, exiling 8 useless cards from our graveyard. We actually have useful lands there, so we'll need to exile something that we don't need. I don't think it matters too much here. Say its name, it can be exiled because my opponent did exile Altanak. And now we'll dredge 5 and 5 again. We only need 1 chill. Conflagrate is really good for next turn. And dredge 4. Okay, no chills, but we have Narcomoeba, Amalgams, Conflagrate. Our Oxen is in play. This game is on the back. Unfortunately, our Bloodghast will not have haste yet. But what can my opponent do here? Only something like Sign of Draco to give lifelink. But even a Resolved Flage with haste will not be enough to win this game anymore. If that's my opponent's plan. Okay, my opponent will attack. Oh, my opponent is getting frisky with their Cavu. I think I'll probably block. Okay, they are looting. So they need something. But maybe I don't even need to block, right? Yeah, let's take... unless my opponent... Oh, okay, let's think here. My opponent can have two Tribal Flames. They can have Tribal Flames, land Tribal Flames. So no, let's block. Oh, they need Cavu alive. So Leilani Binding after blocking. But Cavu doesn't have Tramples, so we are good. My opponent should do this in another order, maybe. A second Cavu. So guys, I think this game is ours. We only need 1 chill. Even Conflagrate can put my opponent in lethal damage here, right? So let's grab Loam. Narcomoeba enters the battlefield. And I'll cast Loam to have more cards in my hand. Let's grab any 3 lands. One of them being Mana Confluence. I think it probably doesn't matter the order here, but let's attack first. You know what? Let's kill Cavu. Because we have lethal damage here. And then we'll know before if my opponent has something. They could have Solitude, they could have counter spells. No. Okay, we won. And now against this deck. Removal spells, of course. Conflagrate can be good. Wander is good. Against this deck on the draw, I think I would just side out the Altanak package. My opponent chose to exile Altanak with their first Cavu trigger, but being on the draw, I think Altanak is just a little bit slow, especially after sideboarding. Let's include more red answers to my opponent's creature. And one last Golgari Thug, I think it's good. It's okay to include a Wander. In case you're wondering why I side out Thug instead of Loam, since Thug is a Dredge 4, and that's because Thug is not that useful in our deck. Sometimes playing Blue Dredging Legacy, I cast Thug from my hand, if we really need to. I think this hand is a keep, right? With 2 gazes, we'll find our second and maybe third lands. But here in Modern, I see that Golgari Thug is almost always just a Dredge 4. They have Thugs have no utility. And Loam and Stinkwood Imps have more utility than Thugs, in my opinion. I think 4 copies of Life from the Loam is really good in this deck. I am enjoying playing with the full playset all the time. I'm not missing Dark Blast, even against creature decks. My opponent is down to 4 cards, so we are really favored to win this game. We have Sacred Foundry, Untapped, and Ragavan. Great, we have a removal spell. Let's put this monkey where it belongs. Discarding our best Dredger. And now we are ahead. My opponent needs a Graveyard Hate on turn 2. Arid Missa, Brexit, scary. Temple Garden, okay, so my opponent has 3 Colors of Mana. And Cavu. Cavu is a 3/3 so far. I think I will cast Otherworldly Gaze here instead of dredging. I really want our second land. Okay, we did hit a Cephalic Elysium. So let's keep only Cephalic Elysium on top. And now that we found it, we play it. And let's cast our second Otherworldly Gaze. So we'll have better options next turn. Ooh, I want to keep everything. Not Thug actually, but X and Mana Confluence are both really good. If I have X next turn, I will hit Threshold anyways, right? Because I'll put 2 more cards in my graveyard. So let's keep X and Mana Confluence in that order. So I can kill Cavu or other creature, and then just have Mana Confluence and crack Cephalic Elysium anyways. And this Bloodghast can enter the battlefield. Yeah, I think that's a good plan. And then we have access to Conflagrate. Unless my opponent opts to exile Conflagrate with Cavu. Or Wander. Wander is also a good card against them. Stinkwood Imp, they are going for our Dredgers instead. They don't have more mana, I think, because this Cavu is only a 3/3. If they had mana, my opponent should play before attacking. Yeah, they don't. So now we'll draw Lightning Axe. And they don't have blue mana here. So this Lightning Axe will be resolved here. I'm still playing around Force of Negation because I always do. But I don't think my opponent has this card. Let's discard Thug here. So now we have 2 Dredgers again. We have Threshold, and next turn we have access to Conflagrate. My opponent doesn't have the third land. Maybe they have Flage in their hand. Now we will draw a land. But let's crack Cephalic Elysium first, since we don't need to cast Conflagrate this turn. We will dredge 4. We'll dredge 4. It seems that my opponent pressed F6 here. So we are good to go. Let's discard Bloodghast and Dredger and other Dredger. And now Narcos enters the battlefield, triggering our Pressed Amalgam. Not good hits there. Only 1 Pressed Amalgam, 2 Narcos, and 1 Bloodghast, but that's fine. We are ahead this game, and next turn we can cast Conflagrate or even Ox if we have access to Ox. My opponent has 3 drops, maybe Sign of Draco. Sign of Draco needs more mana more colors of mana to... Yeah, my opponent goes after Xander's Lounge, so maybe they have Sign of Draco? Yeah, they needed 1 more land to cast this Draco. But it doesn't have lifelink, no ley line in place, so we can attack freely. Narcomoeba and 2 Prize Amalgams. This was a great hit. I could cast Other Legacy in response, but I think I will keep Conflagrate as a plan if my opponent blocks Prize Amalgam here. Even if they block just an Narcomoeba, we can kill Sign of Draco because we have 2 cards in our hand anyways. Okay, now future Bloodghast we have Haste, and we can kill this Sign of Draco and deal 2 more damage to our opponent. It's a small Conflagrate, but it is still good. It's a little Conflagrate. Just a little bit. Hey, baby, just a little bit. Yeah, and now we pass the turn. Prize Amalgam will come back, triggering the other couple of Prize Amalgams. And next turn we have more than lethal. My opponent needs something really good here. Okay, and they don't. And we won 1 more match. We are 3-0. Let's go to our 4th match, guys. We are doing it. Hey, guys, it's morning. I decided to continue the gameplay on the next day because it was getting too late for me. But we are 3-0, and this is our 4th match against IZ. My opponent chose to play first. Okay, it's another Giganta deck. And this hand, not sure. Let's mulligan. Okay, this is slightly better. Now I have a Cathartic Reunion. On turn 1, we can grab our Surveil land. Let's put this Narcomoeba back. My opponent starts with a fetch land. Let's see which Giganta deck we are facing today. Sacred Foundry, untapped. Guide of Souls. That's pretty scary. Okay, a second Cathartic Reunion is actually really good. Let's pass a turn with a fetch land on play. My opponent plays a second fetch land. Okay, they will attack, so it probably means that they cannot go to 3 energy this turn. So it's just 1 damage. And after attacking, they play Ocelot Pride, okay, and keeps 1 mana open. Pride triggers. Let's grab our own Surveil land here. I think my opponent also will grab a Surveil land on my turn. Maybe they have Lightning Bolt, but let's Surveil first. Conflagrate is huge here. It's one of our best cards against my opponent's deck. We will have a Conflagrate available on turn 3. So let's grab our Steam Vents here, and then we'll cast our first Cathartic Reunion. We have only 1 Dredger, but we have Prize Amalgam, and our Dredger is the best one. Dredge 5, Dredge 3, and Dredge 4. Okay, great. Okay, no Narcos yet. I will have 1 Narco in our hand. But next turn we'll bring back at least 2 Prize Amalgams and 1 Bloodghast. And we'll have a Conflagrate next turn. My opponent grabs the Elegant Pardor, and they kept the card on top. They play either Hub. Now they have 3 energy, so this card can trigger to put counters probably on Pride. Okay, Goblin Bombardment. Even if my opponent has more creatures, they are probably going for this route, so they probably noticed our Conflagrate, right? So this feels safer. We definitely need to Dredge here, Dredge 5. Okay, Narcomoeba is good, so Prize Amalgams will trigger. They would trigger anyways this turn because we have a Bloodghast there, but now we have a Narcomoeba in play. And now we could do other things, but probably we need to deal with Guide of Souls and Ocelot Pride this turn. So Bloodghast enters the battlefield, and then next turn we can go casting Cathartic Reunion. For now, let's kill those. Let's destroy those creatures. It's a cat angel, anyways. So we will not kill an angel. We are not bad players, bad persons. We'll just destroy the cat. And now we will discard 5 cards to deal 5 damage. And my opponent will probably, right, deal 1 damage to us. Okay, I thought that maybe my opponent will deal 1 damage to our creatures. They decided to go on us. My opponent may have lethal here, but we needed to deal with those creatures who have only Narcomoeba as a blocker here. And my opponent can sacrifice creatures at instant speed, so we are virtually on 4. We are virtually on 4. If my opponent has a Flage, for example, they can have lethal here because they have lethal. Now they deal 3 damage, sacrifice Flage at instant speed, dealing 1 extra damage. Okay. What did I miss here? I miscounted? Why we are still alive? Oh, my opponent didn't attack with their cat tokens. Thinking that we could block, I think. Okay, my opponent missed lethal there. And now we don't have a chance to win because my opponent can cast Flage next turn. So our only hope is if our opponent could see now, because we need Creeping Chills to survive 1 extra turn. So let's act like it's everything working. Now my opponent has the window to kill us. Nakomoeba. Nako 3 Creeping Chills. Now my opponent has a window to kill us, sacrificing 2 cat tokens, targeting us. We can discard. Let's keep on Sync with Imp in our hand. It doesn't matter. And now my opponent will kill us, right? They missed it. Okay, my opponent missed their own Goblin Bombardment. And now we are back to 11. Now we are favored to win this game. My opponent was distracted. They forgot to kill us when they have a chance. Now we will say its name. Altanak is in our deck. And now I will attack, right? Let's attack with everyone. My opponent jump blocks. And they are still hitting our face, but my opponent missed a lethal opportunity twice on this game. And now Press Amalgam will enter the battlefield. And my opponent concedes. We won. We will take this game. And now, against this deck, we are so well prepared. We have 6 or 7 cards to include. We have Wonder, we have more removal spells. Let's side out the Sage's Name package. It's slow on the draw against this deck. And maybe 1 Bloodghast. Bloodghast cannot block. And let's take Bloodghast. Yeah. And we could also include Wonder, right? But I'm still doing testing here because Wonder is a great card, of course. But sometimes I feel like even against energy decks, Wonder is a little bit win more. I think it's great. Don't misunderstand me. But I'm doing testing with this deck. Now I will not include Wonder on purpose. Let's skip this. This is a great hand because now we have so many removal spells after sideboarding that I feel safer against energy. And having a single Wonder at some point there, I don't know if my opponent plays Blood Moon, for example, so Wonder is not good against Blood Moon. But now I have 2 Lightning Axe and 1 Gaze, 1 Cathartic Reunion with a Dredger. I really, really, really like this hand. Let's see if my opponent has a creature on turn 1. My opponent had a mulligan to 5. Oh, to 4 actually. So they have Guides of Souls. Maybe they have a Graveyard Hate. This was a bad mulligan. We have a second land. Like a champ, we top deck our second land. So let's play it. I need some water. And now Steam Vents, untapped, and let's kill it before my opponent can do anything about it. We discard Stink with Imp, and we pass a turn. My opponent has 2 cards in their hand, and they need really good cards here. They play Sacred Foundry untapped and Empty Raptor, finding a Ghost Vacuum. Alright, this is a good card. Let's see if my opponent will target my Dredger. Not yet. Okay, so let's dredge. Ripping Chill is good. Let's see if my opponent wants to target anything. No? Okay, my opponent is being really patient with their Ghost Vacuum. Now what? This card is not that great against Dredge because my opponent needed to target 3 cards at once. Be a good card. We have so many different targets in the same turn. So I think we'll just cast Cathartic Reunion here, discarding Gaze and Imp. We have 3 Dredgers there. So exiling a Dredger now, it will be too late. My opponent will exile a Loam. Okay. So we'll dredge 5. We dredge 5 and dredge 4. Yeah, you know, guys, it's not my opponent concedes here. It's not my opponent's fault. People sometimes do mistakes when playing against Dredge because it's so different from everything else. We are 4-0. Okay, guys, this is our last round, and we are on the play against JMC 93. This is slow, but it's so rusty. 3 lands. We have every color of mana, Gaze, Loam, and Sage's Name. Especially on the play, I think this is a keep. My opponent also kept 7 cards. So we will draw. We are on the play. I'm sorry. It's still morning. We play Flooded Strand and pass here. And since my opponent is not a Giganta deck, I will cast Otherworldly Gaze immediately because maybe they are a control deck. So we'll cast Otherworldly Gaze before they have a Spell Pierce available. That's great. We have we can mill everything. We have 2 Dredgers there, so we can even crack Cephalic Coliseum on turn 2 without any problems. My opponent plays Verdant Catacombs. Weird. Weird because it's not that common compared to what we are seeing. Okay, now we have a Bloodghast there. Press Amalgam will trigger. With this trigger on the stack, let's do the right thing. Let's crack Cephalic Coliseum. So in case we find another Press Amalgams, they will also trigger with Bloodghast. Dredge, Dredge. Have Ox for next turn. And Dredge again. 2 Creeping Chills are great. We have another Press Amalgam there. Okay. We have a Sage's Name in our hand and 1 Sage's Name in our graveyard. And we'll discard Dredger and Dredger. This was a great turn 2. We milled half of our deck. Our opponent will crack Verdant Catacombs in response for an Overground Tomb. Tapped. Okay. So no worries. My opponent is on 13, so maybe my Bloodghast will have haste next turn. Okay, they play another. Oh, Agatha's Soul Cauldron. That is super scary. Luckily, we were on the play. So my opponent's Soul Cauldron will not be that good. Narcomoeba enters the battlefield here. My opponent should tap for Oxophagonus, but they are going for Narcomoeba. It's okay, we can miss a Narcomoeba. We don't need it. And now Bloodghast will enter the battlefield. And we'll cast Oxophagonus here, probably for the win. Maybe we even have Altanak at the end of this turn. Let's exile some lands, sorceries. Yeah. So Ox enters the battlefield. We'll dredge 5. We'll dredge 15 now. Yeah, Creeping Chill, great. Its name is there. Yeah, we have everything, guys. This is the win more. We super win more. We could win in so many ways on turn 3. Okay, so now what? My opponent has an Agatha Soul Cauldron, so this is a combo deck with creatures. They probably can win. If they have this card on their deck, main deck, it is probably because they can target something in their own graveyard to combo. Something like Walking Ballista. I don't know. I'm not sure. I think I played, no, I didn't play. I saw this deck just once, watching a gameplay from other player. So I think we need some bounce spells or maybe counter spells. Maybe this is a round where we will test Flare of Denial and Into the Floodmoth finally, because against all the creature decks we don't need to test those cards. So let's take 1 Bloodghast, 1 Chill, 1 Gaze, 1 Thug. Those are the obvious cuts in my opinion. Include 4 bounce spells, maybe just that, and see what will happen. Agatha Soul Cauldron costs 2, so maybe Spell Snare would be good. Like I used some leagues ago here, where you maybe watched that video. This hand is a mulligan, too slow. This is also a mulligan, unfortunately. Come on, deck. Oh, deck. 3 Creeping Chills in my starting hand. Why? This is a keep, but I would like to have fetch land to put those Creeping Chills back in the middle of my deck. So my opponent plays Overground Tome and the Lighted Halfling. And now we draw. There's Amalgam. Not special. Let's cast Mana Confluence and pass. Hopefully my opponent will not have a turn 2 Agatha Soul Cauldron, because that would be awful. Okay, just rumble. You can rumble, my friend. Rumble. Oh, they have Card of Calling, Yawgmoth, and land. Okay, they chose the land, and they play it. They crack it. They still have 2 mana available now. They can still play Agatha Soul Cauldron. No, just Yawgmoth. Okay, that's okay. We need to have a good turn 2 now to maybe win this game on turn 3 and 4. We have 1 extra land. That's huge. I think I will play this immediately to guarantee our green mana. Or maybe I'll just go with... Yeah, because we have green mana, of course. We already have Mana Confluence. Let's guarantee anything. Just 1 untapped mana. And now we'll discard and draw. Oh, my opponent doesn't have a response. Come on. Oh, only Dredge 4. Okay, we needed to chain Dredgers there to have a chance to win this game sooner. And now it will be harder, because my opponent has... If they have Card of Calling, for example, they can go after 3 mana creature, 3 mana cost. They are passing the turn. If they will not, yeah, that's scary. Now they have access to Endurance. That's pretty scary. Let's draw. Creeping Chill is awful. Well, I told you, right, that I wanted to shuffle Creeping Chills back in my deck. I did it. So let's cast Sage's Name. With some luck, we can reveal another Sage's Name and grab an Altanak at... No, unfortunately. Now Narcomoeba and 2 Prize Amalgams. If my opponent has a Card of Calling to Endurance, they will use it right now. I'll grab 1 land. It doesn't matter. Simvents is fine. This is the moment. Not the best graveyard, but my opponent, if they have Endurance, they will search for an Endurance now just to avoid me having that much value. They are tapping mana. They are convoking. Tapping the Eldrazi token. Tapping everyone. Yeah, Chord for 3. For an Endurance. What a surprise. Luckily, this was my opponent's only chord. And now we can place Invent tapped. And next turn we rebuild with Life from Below. We start our rebuild process. Okay, my opponent attacks with only Endurance. That's super suspicious. That means that probably they have another chord. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah. Father Coliseum could be good in other situations, but not now. Oh, this is not good, guys. We needed to have more results on our turn 2. And now my opponent had their moment to put them ahead on this game. I'm not even sure if I still play here. I can cast Life from the Loam, grabbing nothing just to put Loam there, and then play a land and see what happens. If my opponent will still hold a chord for next turn, or if they want to just avoid me having this Loam value for a single turn. Or maybe they have another creature. Since I am not offering any harm, my opponent can grab other stuff. Other combo creature maybe. Okay, no answers from my opponent, but they thought for a long time there. And that's it. We cannot cast Golgari Thug because if it dies, it will go on top of our deck. Let's see what my opponent has. Orcish Bowmasters. So instead of Chords, my opponent decided to cast an Orc. And now they will cast Chord. Okay, yeah, because they have 2 more creatures that can be used as a Convoke. Yeah, another Chord. What do they have with X equals to 3? Another Endurance. Yeah, let's concede. Now my opponent has lethal with 2 Endurances, and other creatures they have exactly lethal. Okay, we are not playing with Leyline of Sanctity, so this is not an option. Bounce spells are not great against Endurance, so I was expecting to see Agatha's Soul Cauldron, but now my opponent has Endurance, so counter spells maybe are better. Thinking about it, I'm not sure Flare of Denial is our best counter spell for Endurance, because we need to have a blue creature in play when Flare is in our hand. And if my opponent has Endurance in their hand, we'll keep this because it's a turn 2 Cathartic and a turn 3 Cephalid, but it's not the greatest hand, but it is okay. As I was saying, this probably is good enough to counter Chord of Callings, but not great to counter Endurance, because Endurance is a flash creature, so my opponent will probably cast Endurance before I have the opportunity to have a blue creature on play. So it's a good counter for Chord of Calling. Let's play Flooded Strand and pass. My opponent plays Blooming Marsh and a Mana Dork. So let's grab our tapped Steam Vents here. Okay. Creeping Chill is our worst draw in our entire deck. Let's cast Cathartic Reunion. Discarding 2 Dredges, at least we have 2 Dredges in our starting hand. We can win this, come on, Dredgers. Dredge 5, Dredge 4. And nothing else, just 1 Arco, no Press Amalgams, no! And we don't have Flare of Denial in our hand, we have 2 of them in our graveyard. Maybe, just maybe, my opponent doesn't have a good turn 2. Rumble is okay. Okay, they will have Endurance in their hand now. Can we? Yeah, they took Endurance, of course. And another Halfling, so they must have another green card, right? So they can cast an Endurance at will. Okay, let's draw here and grab that Bloodghast from our graveyard. Let's see if my opponent has something to say here. Let's order this. We'll Surveil first. Altanak, it doesn't matter, right? Because if my opponent shuffles Altanak back, it's in our graveyard, it's in our deck anyways, in our library. And we don't have ways to... I have a possibility here of keeping Altanak on top, just to try to be smarter here than my opponent. But we could cast a Cephalic Coliseum and hit exactly other 2 copies of Sate's Name. And luckily, without any Narcomoebas. Okay, let's put this into our graveyard. How can I force my opponent to feel that they are in danger and they need to cast that Endurance? It's not that easy here because our graveyard is not good. It doesn't have any Dredger. We needed at least 1 Dredger to force my opponent to cast that Endurance there. And maybe rebuild after that. But now I don't think we have great ways to do a single thing here. We could just keep Cephalic Coliseum on top, put Ghast and Amalgam on our graveyard, and try to see next turn if my opponent wants to cast Endurance. I'm not feeling confident here, guys. I'm not gonna lie. I think I will just mill everything. We need Dredgers to force my opponent to do some action. Without a Dredger in our graveyard, my opponent will not feel that Endurance is important. They have 6 cards in their hand. Now they play Boseiju. If they play Boseiju, it's because they are not feeling that Cephalic Coliseum is a threat. Of course, it isn't because they have Endurance. But they are thinking a lot here. Maybe they don't have much else than Endurance. Okay, they have Soul Cauldron. Oh gosh. Now what? How can we win this game? Let's draw a land. Okay, let's play this land. Okay. Bloodghast triggers. My opponent tries to exile. Okay, let's fetch our land. We are doing something. It's not great, but it is something. Okay, my opponent understood what's happening and they don't want to give me a single chance here. So they will cast Endurance. But this is what we wanted, right? This is what we wanted, because now we have a chance to maybe come back from this if my opponent doesn't have anything else. We need to top deck something good here. Do I want... I think Steam Vents. Untapped. And now we can cast a Conflagrate to kill one of their creatures. We can do only 2 damage. Oh no, we don't. Oh, no, it's not this way Conflagrate hits from our hand. We'll need 1 extra mana to do that. So this wasn't good, as I was thinking. Okay, maybe we don't have a chance after all. I cannot attack with anyone because my opponent has blockers. Endurance has Reach, because Endurance is not powerful enough. We don't have black mana. I think our single shot here is to cast Conflagrate, targeting my opponent, dealing 1 damage. And maybe my opponent taps Agatha's Soul Cauldron to get Conflagrate from my graveyard. and then we top deck something like Otherworldly Gaze or Cathartic Reunion, and this will give us a chance to win this game. If my opponent taps Agatha's Soul Cauldron to exile Conflagrate, if they don't have another Endurance or Card of Calling, if they don't have even another weird card that can win the game out of nowhere. There are some ifs, but weird things can happen sometimes. Okay, my opponent is tapping Mana and Halfling. Yawgmoths. Okay, Yawgmoth, Throw, Physician. And now if I target something, my opponent can even tap Cauldron to give a +1/+1 to one creature. That means that I cannot kill anything, probably. My opponent even attacks with Endurance, and we draw an Arcomoeba. So let's deal. Oh, guys, I feel like we need to hit 2 creatures here, and not only 1, because my opponent probably has ways to get more creatures. So I'm hoping that my opponent doesn't see the line that they can save one of their creatures. I'm hoping that doesn't see this line that can hit one of their creatures in their graveyard with. Okay, they solved the line. Yeah, because even if I try to hit only Yawgmoth, my opponent is still ahead, and they can probably grab another one at some point. So I just try to be smarter than my smart opponent. It doesn't work. Yeah, they are saving the Halfling though. I was expecting the Yawgmoth was the best card, but it isn't. And now let's crack Cephalic Coliseum. Maybe we'll have a chance. Maybe we have a chance now. But I'm not confident. I'm feeling, yeah, nothing good happened there. Only one Sate's name. At least now, my opponent, if they don't have Endurance or other ways to grab Endurance, maybe just Agatha's Soul Cauldron alone will not do. Maybe I'm being pessimist here. Maybe actually we have a chance to win this game. Because we have Life from the Loam, so maybe we can grab a Bloodghast and press Amalgam if my opponent doesn't have anything else. But it was interesting that they opted to save the Halfling. Oh yeah, sure, because now they can put... Yeah, and this is because I was inexperienced against this deck. Now Endurance has the ability, the Physician's ability, and now my opponent's Endurance can do exactly what the Yawgmoth does. Of course, it was my inexperience here. It's my first time seeing the opponent doing that line. And now they have Hapatra. Because in my head, Yawgmoth was the best creature, but actually it doesn't matter because my opponent can just put counters. And this is what my opponent does. It wasn't a Walking Ballista combo. This is a combo with Yawgmoth, Mana, Hapatra, Yawgmoth. Now my opponent, I believe they have infinite snake tokens. They kill Yawgmoth, Yawgmoth comes back. They kill it again, they put some snake, Yawgmoth comes back. I will watch a little bit, guys, but I will cut to the end of this match just to see if I'm right. I think my opponent has almost infinite snake tokens. Yeah, and after some minutes here, my opponent also went after Zulaport Cutthroat, so now they can deal damage to me each time they kill one of their snakes. I'm a fan. I like aristocrats strategies like this one. This is actually awesome. I lost my trophy, but this was actually awesome.
So what we learned about our deck this week. I am satisfied with our mana base at this point. I think this is probably what I will keep playing from now on. And I really enjoy the deck. Sometimes the Sate's Name package with Altanak feels a little bit win more, and sometimes it is just awesome and helps me to win games that I would never win otherwise. So it is some card to still be tested. I think it is still strong, and since we are playing for color, I think it's kind of free having Altanak as a great effect that sometimes will just win games that you would never win. But if you want to change this for other cards, I would definitely understand. It can be a meta call because it can work pretty good against counterspell decks, control decks, like Frogtide, for example. But sometimes you just want to be faster if your metagame has just combo decks, for example. Maybe you don't want the Sate's Name package. What about our sideboard? We couldn't test Flare of Denial really in this league. We had almost zero opportunities to test this card. And even when we had this opportunity to test this card, I was skeptical about it because it is not a great way to counter an Endurance, for example. If my opponent has an Endurance in their hand, Flare of Denial will not do a good job. Unless we, of course, have a blue creature in play, but this almost never happens against Endurance decks. And I'm satisfied with the full play set of Lightning Axe, and having one extra Ox and one extra Conflagrate, I think it is super solid. But we felt the absence of Leyline of the Void or any insurance against other graveyard decks like our last matchup. it felt like it could be a win if we had, I don't know, maybe Leyline of the Void or something in our sideboard. You cannot have sideboard against every deck in the format, right? So it is important to be flexible, to use your slots in your sideboard in more flexible ways. So maybe some other counterspell here can be good, but also Leyline sometimes just do the job, you know, because you just mulligan until you find a Leyline and a good mix of lands and spells, and this can lead to a win by itself. You don't need to hold counterspells for several turns until do its job, but then your opponent just have another good spell to win the game. So that's pretty much it. I hope you enjoyed this league. I'm just sorry because of this new configuration here, but I thought it would be better to just record this even in a different set with a different video quality and audio, but it would be better to just do it so you could have a new video this week. Hope you enjoyed this. Click the like button, subscribe, and leave a comment below if you did. And see you soon on our next chapter. Bye.